It lasted only a few seconds. That was the problem. If it had lasted longer, perhaps people would have understood it as ordinary acting. If it had been louder, maybe everyone would have dismissed it as fan service. If either of them had said something obvious, the mystery would have disappeared almost immediately. But it wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't announced. It was a tiny gesture. A brief movement. A glance that seemed to happen almost by accident. And somehow, that was enough. Enough for thousands of fans to replay the moment frame by frame. Enough for people to create theories. Enough for entire fan communities to argue over what they had supposedly witnessed. And years later, the question still refuses to disappear. What exactly happened in that tiny moment between Wang Yibo and Xiao Zhan? Before we go any further, one thing must be made clear. What follows is a fictionalized fan story inspired by the intense attention surrounding their on-screen and behind-the-scenes chemistry. It is not a claim about their private relationship or proof that any fan theory is true. Now, imagine the room. The cameras are rolling. The crew is busy. People are talking. Nobody appears to be paying special attention to the two actors. Then Xiao Zhan moves. Just slightly. Wang Yibo notices. And for one tiny second, something changes. Not enough for a casual viewer to notice. But enough for someone watching carefully to stop the video. Rewind. Play. Pause. Rewind again. And then comes the dangerous question. Why did he do that? That question was all it took. Because once fans began looking for an explanation, every tiny movement suddenly seemed important. A glance. A smile. A hand movement. The distance between two chairs. Who looked first? Who looked away first? Who laughed? Who didn't laugh? And most dangerously of all, who seemed to notice whom? The internet has always been fascinated by things that appear accidental. But when two actors have already created unforgettable chemistry on screen, accidental moments become something else entirely. They become clues. Or at least, fans begin treating them like clues. And that was exactly what happened. The moment nobody expected to become a mystery. The fictional scene begins after a long day of filming. Everyone is exhausted. The atmosphere is relaxed. The cameras are not supposed to capture anything dramatic. There is no carefully written dialogue. No director shouting instructions. No romantic music. No perfectly positioned lighting. Just two actors sitting near each other while everyone else is doing their own thing. Xiao Zhan is talking. Wang Yibo is listening. Then Xiao Zhan pauses. For a moment, he looks toward Yibo. Yibo looks back. Nothing unusual. Except, Xiao Zhan makes a tiny adjustment. He moves something closer to Yibo. Something so ordinary that nobody in the room reacts. Then he immediately turns away. Yibo looks down at it. He smiles. Not a huge smile. Just the smallest movement at the corner of his mouth. Then he looks at Xiao Zhan again. And Xiao Zhan pretends not to notice. That's it. The moment is over. No confession. No dramatic statement. Nothing that could objectively prove anything. Yet somewhere behind a camera, the footage survives. Years later, someone finds it. And suddenly, everything changes. A fan uploads a short clip. The caption is innocent at first. Did anyone else notice this? The question spreads. Someone replies. Wait. Go back. Another says. He definitely noticed. Someone else says. Look at Yibo's face. Then another person posts. Why did Xiao Zhan do that? And now the machine has started. 1 second becomes 1,000 theories. The internet doesn't need much. Give people a mysterious glance and a few seconds of footage, and they will build an entire universe around it. One fan slows the video down. Another increases the brightness. Someone crops the frame. Another places arrows over their hands. Then someone creates a side-by-side comparison with an older clip. And suddenly the tiny gesture isn't tiny anymore. It becomes evidence. At least, that's what some fans begin calling it. But evidence of what? Nobody can agree. One theory says it was simply an instinctive act between two co-stars who had become comfortable around each other. Another says it was playful teasing. Someone else insists it was an inside joke. And then comes the theory that causes the biggest reaction. Maybe the gesture meant something only the two of them understood. That sentence changes everything. Because now fans aren't just watching what happened. They're imagining what happened before the camera started recording. And what happened after it stopped. That is where speculation becomes powerful. And dangerous. Because the human mind hates unfinished stories. If we see a beginning without an ending, we create one. If we see a gesture without an explanation, we invent one. And Wang Yibo and Xiao Zhan had already given fans something incredibly powerful. A story that existed both on screen and behind the scenes. Their chemistry in The Untamed had already attracted enormous attention, while behind-the-scenes clips showed playful interactions that fans loved analyzing. So when another tiny moment appeared, people were ready. The first theory was simple. Maybe Xiao Zhan was just being considerate. That's it. Nothing romantic. Nothing secret. Just consideration. But that explanation wasn't exciting enough for everyone. Because fans had already seen countless moments where the two appeared relaxed around each other. They joked. They teased one another. They played around between takes. They interacted in ways that viewers found charming. Some behind-the-scenes reports even highlighted their playful physical interactions and casual conversations. So the question became, if this was simply normal friendship, why did this particular gesture feel different? And that's where interpretation began replacing observation. One fan wrote, maybe it wasn't the gesture itself. Maybe it was the way Yibo reacted to it. That sentence went viral within the fictional fan community. Because suddenly everyone stopped watching Xiao Zhan. They started watching Wang Yibo. The look lasted less than a second. But fans noticed it. Yibo looked at Xiao Zhan. Then away. Then back again. Someone described it as the look of someone trying not to laugh. Another described it as the look of someone who already understood what the gesture meant. Another insisted it was nothing more than amusement. 3 interpretations. 1 video. No confirmed answer. And that was exactly why the debate became unstoppable. One group said, "You're overanalyzing." Another replied, "Then explain why he reacted like that." A third group entered the argument. "Maybe we're all missing the obvious. They were simply comfortable with each other." That should have ended the debate. It didn't. Instead, someone uploaded the clip again. This time in slow motion. Then another version appeared with music. Then another with subtitles. Then another comparing the gesture with older behind-the-scenes footage. And suddenly, the tiny moment had become a fandom event. The second clue. Then someone discovered something else. An older clip. In that footage, the two actors were joking around during a break. Nothing extraordinary. But there was a similar movement. Not identical. Just similar enough to make fans suspicious. The internet exploded. They have done this before. That became the new theory. And once that theory existed, fans started looking for more examples. They found them everywhere. A hand placed near a shoulder. A glance across a room. A smile after someone said something. A small movement toward the other person. A moment where one seemed to notice the other entering a room. Suddenly, ordinary human behavior became part of a giant puzzle. And the puzzle had no official solution. The most dangerous part. Here is where the fictional story takes a darker turn. One night, a fan watching the footage notices something nobody else has mentioned. The tiny gesture wasn't actually the strange part. The strange part was what happened immediately afterward. Xiao Zhan looked away. Wang Yibo looked down. Then both of them smiled. Not together. Not obviously. Just close enough in timing to make people wonder. The fan freezes the screen. And whispers, "Wait." They replay it. Again. 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 Then they post. I don't know what this means, but why did they both react at exactly the same time? Within hours, thousands of people have seen it. And now the theory has evolved. It isn't about the gesture anymore. It's about synchronization. They knew. One group becomes convinced that the two actors had some kind of private understanding. Again, this is only fictional speculation for the story, not a claim about their real lives. But inside our fictional narrative, the theory becomes enormous. Fans begin saying, they didn't need to say anything. They understood each other. Look at how quickly Yibo reacted. Xiao Zhan knew he noticed. They were communicating without words. And the phrase that catches fire is, they knew. Nobody knows what they supposedly knew. But that doesn't stop people from repeating it. That's the strange power of fandom mysteries. The less information people have, the more room imagination has to grow. The old video. Then comes the discovery that changes everything. Someone finds an old behind-the-scenes clip. It contains a moment almost identical to the one everyone has been discussing. The same kind of pause. The same kind of glance. The same almost invisible movement. But this time, Xiao Zhan laughs. Wang Yibo immediately looks away. The internet goes crazy. People begin connecting the two clips. One fan writes, "This isn't the first time." Another, "Okay, now I'm paying attention." Another, "There has to be context we're missing." And that is perhaps the most reasonable reaction of all. Because there is always context. Actors work together for long hours. They develop rhythms. They develop inside jokes. They learn each other's habits. They become comfortable. And sometimes, two people simply understand one another's timing because they've spent months working together. That explanation isn't mysterious. But it is believable. Yet mystery doesn't spread because it is believable. Mystery spreads because it leaves room for questions. The fan who went too far. In our fictional story, one fan decides to investigate everything. They create a massive folder. Hundreds of clips. Screenshots. Interviews. Behind-the-scenes moments. Public appearances. Every interaction they can find. They name the folder. The Tiny Gesture Project. At first, it is fun. Then it becomes obsessive. The fan notices patterns. Sometimes they are real patterns. Sometimes they are probably coincidences. But once the brain starts searching for patterns, coincidences become incredibly powerful. A glance becomes a signal. A smile becomes a response. A movement becomes a message. The fan writes a 20-page theory. Then another fan writes a 50-page rebuttal. Then someone creates a video. Then another video. Then reaction videos. Then edits. Then memes. Then arguments. The tiny gesture has become an industry. And then something unexpected happens. One evening, the original clip disappears from the fan account. No explanation. No warning. Just gone. Fans panic. Why was it deleted? Immediately, theories multiply. Some say copyright. Some say the account owner deleted it. Some say it was reported. Others say, maybe someone didn't want people discussing it. That last theory spreads faster than everything else. And this is where the fictional mystery reaches its peak. Because people aren't asking, what did the gesture mean? They're asking, why did somebody want us to stop talking about it? And suddenly, the missing video becomes more interesting than the original video. The upload. But the internet remembers. Someone else has a copy. It reappears. This time the clip is higher quality, sharper, slower. And there is something in the corner of the frame that nobody noticed before. A staff member appears to glance toward the two actors. Then smile. Then look away. That's all. But the fan community goes wild. The staff noticed. Look at the staff member. Even they knew something was happening. But was the staff member actually reacting to them? Or was something else happening outside the frame? Nobody knows. And that's the problem. Nobody can know from the footage alone. Yet the theories continue. The moment becomes legend. Eventually, the original tiny gesture is no longer just a clip. It becomes a fandom legend. New fans hear about it without even knowing where it came from. Someone says, "You have to see the original clip." Someone else responds, "Which one?" And that's when you realize how enormous the mythology has become. There isn't one version anymore. There are dozens. Different edits. Different captions. Different music. Different theories. Different interpretations. Some versions make it look romantic. Some make it look funny. Some make it look completely ordinary. And perhaps that is the most fascinating part. The exact same footage can tell 3 completely different stories depending on how you edit it. The theory that refused to die. Years pass inside the fictional story. The fandom changes. Trends change. Platforms change. New shows arrive. New actors become popular. But somewhere online, someone still posts the same question. Does anyone remember the tiny gesture? And suddenly the comments return. Yes. The legendary moment. I still think there was something behind it. It was nothing. You guys were overthinking. We'll never know. And that final sentence is what keeps the story alive. We'll never know. Because neither the footage nor fan theories can reveal someone's private thoughts. A camera can capture a movement. It cannot capture the meaning inside a person's mind. And that distinction matters. What if the gesture meant nothing? This is the twist nobody wants. What if it was simply a normal gesture? What if Xiao Zhan didn't think twice about it? What if Wang Yibo's smile had nothing to do with it? What if the entire theory was created because thousands of people wanted the moment to mean more than it actually did? That possibility is not boring. In fact, it may be the most human explanation. Because fans aren't machines. They connect emotionally with stories. They see chemistry. They see friendship. They see characters they love. And when the actors behind those characters appear comfortable together, it can be incredibly easy to blur the boundary between performance, friendship, fandom imagination, and reality. That is exactly why the smallest moments can become enormous. But there was one more detail. In our fictional story, the fan who originally discovered the gesture goes back to the footage one final time. Not looking at Xiao Zhan. Not looking at Wang Yibo. Not looking at the staff. Instead, they watch the background. And there it is. A tiny movement. Something happening completely outside the central interaction. The fan realizes the entire theory may have been built around a misunderstanding. They stare at the screen. Then laugh. All those edits. All those arguments. All those theories. All those sleepless nights. All because people had been looking in the wrong place. But before they can reveal what they discovered, they stop. Because maybe the mystery is better left unsolved. The final message. The next morning, instead of exposing the answer, the fan posts one sentence. Maybe the tiny gesture wasn't important because of what it meant. Maybe it was important because of what it made people feel. Thousands of comments appear. Some agree. Some disagree. Some demand the truth. But the fan never explains. The mystery survives. The real fascination with moments involving Wang Yibo and Xiao Zhan is not necessarily that every gesture contains a hidden message. It is that their work together created a chemistry that audiences found extremely compelling. Their roles in The Untamed became culturally significant, and behind-the-scenes footage gave fans additional material to discuss and interpret. That combination created an enormous space for fan theories. Some fans interpret their interactions as friendship. Some interpret them